Howdy, and today we are going to design a vent hood for an Elica Arezzo vent. And I'm going to show you just the steps on reading the specs and how to do that. So, we're here at the Elica website. And the Arezzo is special because it mounts upwards. So there are some that mount immediately, you put it in the bottom panel and then it mounts to the sides into the side of the plywood. Or at least just into some type of bracket or something into the sides, maybe the sides of the hood. So they have their own method. But Elica Arezzo is one of the ones that installs in the side. So just go through their website. They have a installation manual. So that's what this is over here. Oh, okay. And oh goodness. Okay. So let's go to the top. So this is the Elica Arezzo model. So ear, what I just call it, ear 146 is what I see the most common. Typically, a lot of appliance companies will sell this anytime there's a 48-inch range. So that's the reason why I see it the most. But there obviously are smaller versions. And they, as far as the Arezzo goes, they have another one called the Palmero, and it's all completely different. So these are the rough product measurements, and what's important here, because there will be cutout sizes, but it's realizing where the mounting holes are. So here and here on the other side are the mounting holes. So that means this top part is not holding the hood up, but there needs to be a cutout for this because we're either going to need a stretcher to go front to back, or a shelf to hold these screws and these screws. But then there also has to be that shelf, or the stretchers have to be high enough for the base. Okay, so come over this way. So we're the bottom's height is C, 5 and 7/16. That's all consistent numbers for all these hoods. And then just the depth and the width of them are different. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. And so again, I'm going to use this one because this is what I see the most. So that means that it's overall 46.5, the A, and B is 22. Okay. And then the C is 5 and 7/16. And then we don't really care about this so much. There's going to be a cutout for this section, as we'll see. So let's go ahead and scroll down. So see, this has got a shelf hood insert capable of supporting 75 pounds. So obviously not incredibly light. We want to make sure that it's nice and sturdy shelf supports however you do it, but make sure that's in there very solid. That's why I would recommend having, I typically use a shelf method for this top. So that way I have it dadoed into the sides and the back. But it's also worth possibly having some type of front stretcher, or front section, front nailer, what do you want to call it? But there's a front fourth side supporting that weight up, just so that way that shelf doesn't bow at all. I mean, we're talking about 46 inches, so it's can be quite wide. Now, obviously, the mounting holes are to the outside of that number, but just want to build cabinets for longevity, right? So it's going to go up to the bottom of the hood would be down here. Then it's going to go up and have a shelf, and that shelf's going to have a cutout for the top section of the vent. So it's going to have a cutout for this, and then the rest of this will be in the side, the general cavity of the hood, right? So you could design it with spacers. I don't typically do that personally, because basically 48-inch hood, if you're using 3/4 plywood, you're going to have 3/4 plus 3/4, that's 1.5 inches. So if we take 48-inch hood minus 1.5 inches, you're going to get 46.5. So if the overall hood is 48, that means the inside is 46.5 already. but you could make the inside 48, and that would mean your exterior is 49 and a half. But I also plenty of times due to design have to do these like 60 inches wide. So I'll show you what to do in that circumstance as well. So scroll down. So this is what we need here. So preparing the range hood for mounting into a cabinet. We leave these holes for the carpenter to do on site because I build shop made cabinets. But if you're the carpenter, consider this. But before that, you want to mark the layout for the holes. So this is your cutout size. So the mounting size, the mounting hole location, but the cutout location. And this is a reminder about the upper hood motor that we're trying to fit into this hole. So this is the cutouts for that upper hood motor. So for this section right here. And again, you can see how far those screws go outside of that. So we need D and B, and A is very important. So A is how close it is to the wall. It's 11/16. So this is the reason why in the one I'm about to open, I always provide a nailer that is a backer. And you can go the full height if you want. But at least it goes from the bottom of my hood where I can put some type of scribe, molding, wood tape, something on the back to make that plywood seam look good. But it's a 3/4 backer that actually the hood's going to bump against my nailer, and it's going to be 3/4 of a wall. It's going to be 3/4 of an inch away from the wall, no matter what. And then I'm going to do this. I don't want to do that. So to help ensure that it's 11/16 away, because 12/16 would be 12/16 would be 3/4. So to make sure it's away from the wall for the tile and everything else. And then so we're going to have an A away and B depth. B, we're going to do this big one, 15 and 5/16, and then it'll be 28 and 15/16. I've always made these pretty exact. I'm not actually sure how exact they need to be. But if you remember as well, so we're going to place the shelf first. So this is page 8. Let me zoom back to page 1, 2. So page 4. Okay. And C. So this is the height of our hood, 5 and 7/16. 5 and 7/16. So we're going to place this hood 5 and 7 at the shelf. The bottom of the shelf needs to be at least 5 and 7/16 from the bottom. I prefer having a little bit of a gap, so I just go ahead and prefer 1 inch is what we normally do for all of our hoods. So I'm going to place it right here. That would be exactly flush with the bottom. It needs to go up at least 5 and 7/16. And then we're going to go ahead and do an extra inch. So that way it's going to come down all the way. The bottom of the hood is going to be down here. It's going to have an inch recess above that. But again, if I did only 5 and 7/16, that bottom of that hood is going to be flush with the bottom. Because that whole bottom section is very thick and would fill all of this. Because as we see from the size, it's 22 deep by 46 and a half long. And this is a hood that I made that's 23 and a half deep by 48 inches long. So if I were to measure this down here on the bottom right, you can see it says 46 and a half by 22. This is, well, actually it says 46. Let me see what I got right there. 46 and a half there. I just mismeasured. 46 and a half by 22 on the bottom right. So this is a perfect fit at the moment. If you want to give a little bit of room, maybe you could give like a 16th overall, so there's like a 30-second gap. But you wouldn't want to do too much. And I technically have 3/4 put in here. We typically measure our plywood as like 0.74, so it's only 0.01 difference. But that overall, that's a 0.02 difference. That means it's just not, if I make it perfect, there is just a smidge of wiggle room. And again, I have this nailer going all the way to the bottom, so that way the hood can bump against this, and then it will bump against the front panel. But if you feel like you need to, this could have a either a nailer or something that can go on top of this going across, so you can screw up to it to help support the shelf. Or I've had it dado into the front panel before. I've had it dado into the front panel before and had like some type of hood in the front base. Depends on the hood though. Some people are liking the solid clean front, and then therefore you have to be more creative with what you do inside the hood to support it. So we've got this bottom in here. Again, it's 3/4 away from the back already. I'm just going to open this part and go back to our page 8. And so we want to be 11/16 away at least. And again, we're 3/4 automatically because of the nailer. So where do you have it? 12/16 or 11/16 figured out. And B, we're going to do 15 5/16 forward, and then 28 15/16 to overall. So 14, we'll do 14 and a half, which I don't get that because this technically makes that 29. So I guess they're allowing a little bit of wiggle room there. I'm going to do that for this situation. The program I normally use at work is a different program. It allows me just to easily program direct center. But if you were a carpenter or something, this would be probably the way you would do it anyways. Sorry, 15 5/16, and then 14 and a half. 15 5/16 forward, and 14.5. And then to 29 by 15 5/16. Now we're properly. Okay, I'll do it the non-lazy way. 9. And then we're going to do it down. There we go. So now we would have a cutout, and again, you could have this extend and dado into this, or just add some type of blocking that you can screw up to. And I'll probably do blocking across here and blocking across here, screw it up. Or again, you can have it dado here, dado to the sides, dado to here. And then you could probably leave that open if you want to, because those holes are going to be over here, right? So it's going to be, most of your support's going to come through here, but you figure out how you want to best support that hood, because again, it says up to 75 pounds. So this is how you would do it for a 48-inch hood. If I was going to do a 60-inch hood, which again, that's probably what I do the most often. You have this like this, right? Let me get this all. Just go 12 inches more. Sorry, I was going to prep this and I forgot. So I'm just going to go real quick. Be able to grab its midpoint. I hope I cannot grab its midpoint. There we go. And find. You're gonna let me find that midpoint? No, you're not. That's fine. I know it needs to go over 6 inches. Okay, there we go. But I did 12, so obviously half of. So now I've got this bigger for 60 inch. You could do 40, 54, whatever, all these same rules apply. It's just anytime you make this bigger for the Eliza, the Elica Arezzo, basically all I'm going to do is just add a little filler. So again, I went up an extra inch, right? So if I measure from my extra inch up to here, it's 5 7/16. And then go, did 12 inches bigger than the hood itself. So divide that in half, is 6 inches. So I went over 6 inches, up 3/4. I didn't finish my rectangle. Hold on. Just gonna have this run to the front. And these are not supportive at all. They're just to be filling. They're only fillers. So so that doesn't have to be. I mean, I'd have them dado into the side and the back. There's no reason for them to be crazy, like to do anything super extreme. So that's what I would do normally, is just add those little fillers there, and so that hood fits right here all the way around, and then that you still have that same spacing for the upper motor housing. Anyways, that is how to size a vent hood to the Elica Arezzo, again from a normal 48-inch model, and then a just any size that would be bigger, and you need to add little fillers. I've done that. I've probably done at least a dozen hoods like this, and over several years, and I've never heard a callback for it. So doesn't mean I'm perfect. At the very least, somebody's fixing it on site. So, but again, that's the way I've always read this. The upper motor housing, put that shelf up the height of the bottom section's height. I go an extra ½ inch to an inch, typically an inch, and then just make sure that you do a dado or some type of cleats or something to hold that shelf, so that way you can hold the up to 75 pounds. Anyways, that's how you fit a hood, adjust a hood to fit the Elica Arezzo vent. Thank you all. If you have any more questions on any other appliances, feel free to drop a comment, and I'll be happy to make a video on those.